next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
One day the AIs are gonna look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
Hello.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Frauds for myself, Matt, and my co-host, Tyler.
I'm better, Matt. Hello.
Provide completely unprofessional, 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. But today, we are continuing our Search for Modern Classic series. I don't even know why I say we're continuing, since the only episodes we do now are Modern Classic series episodes.
We're coming out with other stuff. We just did
Yes.
Ex-Kergzaler. We'll do a clearing our watch list. Saulnier. Yes, we're doing.
Oh, yeah, we gotta do Saulnier too. Oh my God. Fast times ahead, even though we get 1/4 of the views we used to get back when Mark was around.
Mark, come back, please.
Please. But today, Search for Modern Classics, this time in our lens, is Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland, who had a very prolific 2000s, 2010s. And at the time recording this video is about to release Civil War next weekend, which we may do a video on it or a podcast on if we are motivated to. That's a little bit of a work in progress right now.
Yeah.
But Ex Machina came out in 2014, 2015, 9 years ago.
This is the quality of research you're getting here at Film Frauds.
Yes. It stars the son of that guy,
Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson. It stars Domhnall Gleeson, son of Brendan Gleeson, Oscar Isaac, and Alicia Vikander. And it is about Domhnall Gleeson's character. His name is Caleb, who works at this giant tech company called Blue Book. He wins a prize to go and see Nathan, who is like the Elon Musk of this world.
Yeah, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, S-Figures world, and his private house. Little does he know that he is about to be the part of a Turing test for an AI that Nathan has created. And as things unfold, the experiments and technological advancements that Nathan is making seem to bring up ethical issues. And everything is resolved in a very peaceful manner through conversation and understanding. Not to spoil it.
Yeah, healthy communication is abundant in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so Alex Garland has, as I said, has had a very prolific 2000s, 2010s, as well as 2020s. What is your history with this filmmaker, Tyler?
Do you remember when you first heard of Ex Machina? That's what I'm curious about.
I remember, like, okay, so we were in high school, and it was like a huge. It was a movie that had like no publicity when it came out, but just like was a movie that was just so good that word of mouth made it popular.
Yep.
And I didn't watch it in theaters. I actually watched it on your Blu-ray. You let me borrow it.
That's what I'm trying to remember, because I don't remember the first time I heard about this movie, but at that time, so 2015, so we would have been juniors in high school. So we probably heard it from like internet, like, hey, like Ex Machina is one of the best movies of the year. Like, you gotta check it out.
Good time, no alcohol required.
Chris Steckman gave it like an A- kind of thing, and we're like, what? No way. Or at least I was. You were like a little more advanced than I was at that age. But like, I remember, I think buying the Blu-ray at like a Black Friday shopping when it was like $5. Did you watch it before I did, or did I watch it first?
Well, I would normally say yes, since I borrowed off of your Blu-ray, but knowing how well you are at reading the books you buy or watching the movies that you buy, there's some gray area. I'm not 100% sure. I think you said it's a great movie.
Okay,
when I got it, but maybe you were just echoing Chris Duckins.
Yeah, I was just like, Chris Duckins said it was a good movie, therefore it's a good movie. I mean, this was like, we've talked about this before in the past, but there are just like a series of movies that are developmental to us in some capacity, whether it's like the quality of the movies or just like they're the first movies like at least I feel like I remember where it was like a different non-blockbuster movie that was smarter, that had ideas, and that I like actively sought out to watch and was impressed with when I saw it at the time. Like, it's one of those like weird foundational movies that got me more into movies. I don't really remember the first time I watched it. I don't really I remember really liking it, and then I don't think I've seen it since. I initially watched it, and I've just kind of sat with it and like remembered it very fondly. Do you remember what's your Ex Machina
I
Alex
actually
Garland
rewatched it
history?
this time last year, like
You watched
almost
it,
like to the
okay?
day.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, okay.
And I was blown away by it because it'd been quite a few years since I had watched it. And then yeah, I rewatched it now. But Alex Garland's a filmmaker that who I've seen most of his stuff,
Hmm.
and some of it I've seen multiple times. Like Dread, he wrote Dread. It's pretty much confirmed that he directed it as
Directed
well,
it,
even
yeah,
though he's not listed as the director.
yeah.
Um, Devs his most not his most recent, but his semi most recent thing, which came out like pretty much at the perfect time because it came out right when the pandemic started,
What
and
streaming
right
service? What?
Hulu. So you
It's
got a
Hulu.
free
Okay.
Hulu subscription for like 30 days, and you let me use it, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch Devs,
I'm just
and
funding your movie. I'm just like buying stuff and basically being like, you
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
All you, man.
yeah. You're my Sforza, and I'm
I'm your
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I'm your sugar
Leonardo
movie
da
daddy.
Vinci. I'm your Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah. Um, and so I watched that because it was pandemic and nothing was going on. Dread I've seen like 10 plus times.
Yeah.
I rewatched Annihilation recently as well, not because I was preparing for the podcast, but because I just wanted to rewatch it.
Hmm.
And I've seen 28 Days Later as well. And he's a filmmaker who I think really, from what I've seen, really nails the social commentary without the movie relying upon social commentary to exist.
Hmm.
He seems up to date with like the tech world, how things are evolving in that industry, but like also keeping in mind like the humanity of it as well.
Yeah.
Like I would say Ex Machina, even though it's about AI, is also like raises questions about human consciousness that
Yeah.
are very interesting. And even like a movie like Dread works as a turn your brain up action movie, but um I studied some criminology stuff in for my bachelor, and as like a minor certificate thing. And a lot of what goes on in this movie like accurately like fits with what we learn and like how communities develop, what causes crime, etc.
This is
Um
Dread, right? Not
yeah,
Ex
this is
Machina. Okay,
Dread.
okay.
And then Annihilation, there's so many like film essays about it where people take different things out of it. And it's like I would say it's like one of the most disturbing movies thematically that
It's interesting. We can talk a little bit more in detail about it
okay.
after. Yeah, because I have some. It's not as disturbing as I remembered it was when I rewatched it for this.
Okay.
I should say. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what are your thoughts on Alex Garland's resume of works? Because
I
you
mean,
watched the movie, his most recent movie, Men, which I wanted to watch originally, and I looked up what happens in the movie. I'm like, okay, no, I think I'm good.
yeah. I mean, Ex Machina. I mean, so like this week, I haven't seen Devs. I haven't seen. Maybe I think I watched 28 Days Later when I was like 11, like
Mm.
really young. I don't think I've seen Sunshine. Like he's like I really like his movies. Are I mean we here when we talk about movies, like we're always like it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but like we very heavily value like contemporary filmmakers who are making something that it feels like wholly different and unique. Like you leave an Alex Garland movie and you're like, that was different than like a lot of other movies. Like, and for years, Annihilation and Ex Machina have been heralded as like the 2010s like sci-fi like classics, like
Mm.
movies that people want to like come back to. If you mention a modern sci-fi, Ex Machina, Annihilation get thrown in. Annihilation as being like a criminally underrated movie that people
Which we saw
did.
in theaters, so we
We
were
did see
not
in
to
theaters.
blame.
Yeah, I saw that twice in theaters. Which was crazy. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it with you, and I saw it with someone else. And like we constantly are thinking about his movies as like these like, oh, like slightly underrated, but like people should probably watch them more. And then at least his first two, and then Men came out like 2021, like COVID era, and I really kind of gave a shit about it. And now Civil War's
It's
coming
funny
out
because
with
Devs was good. Like people were fairly
yeah,
people who watched Devs liked it. But yeah, then Men came out and no one cared.
no one care about Men, and now Civil War is tracking for A24's biggest opening ever at like 20 plus $1 million, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. So I don't really know his movies have so I rewatched Annihilation, I watched Men, and I watched Ex Machina. And if I'm thinking of anything in terms of Alex Garland, the quality of his movies, at least in my mind, have like dipped.
Okay.
I think Men is like kind of a not great. Uh Ex Machina fucking rules. Like Ex Machina rocks. It's fucking awesome. It rips. We'll talk about it later. Annihilation wasn't as good as I remembered. Um, it I what do you remember about Annihilation? Like, what are your thoughts on it? On more
Um,
out of curiosity.
I I kind of I think I love what it represents, which
Yeah.
is just like a crazy science fiction movie that doesn't adhere to like the blockbuster rules, basically that American movies usually have to adhere to. It's a movie that I think I like when people analyze it because
Hmm.
I think it's somewhat heavy-handed in one regard, but also it allows you to interpret things in interesting ways. Like I like cosmic horror a lot,
Mm.
and I think that really hits it like the Lovecraftian, like we're just diving into the unknown and we're
Yeah.
hopelessly overwhelmed and there's no winning really. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. Some of the visual effects and the practical effects I think are tremendous. Like the
Yeah.
bear scene when the bear comes into the dark house
Yeah.
and it's like the
Amazing stuff.
skull and it screams in the voice of the woman who was killed earlier on.
Yeah.
A lot of creativity there. I love. I love when they go into when they're trying to investigate what happened to the first research team, which has Natalie Portman's husband in it,
Yeah.
and like that guy is like splattered all over the wall. Just the visual creativeness of the movie, I think, is
Yeah.
like second to none, basically.
Yeah.
I don't really have any flaws with it. Like, what are your problems with the movie? Because I think it's a fairly I'd say it's a very thought-provoking movie.
So, well, I think for like first, all of his movies look amazing. Like in terms of a directing style, I just looked it up. He's worked with the same cinematographer, Rob Hardy, on all of his
Mm.
movies, and he's also the cinematographer for the upcoming Civil War movie. Um, Ex Machina, I think, in terms of just in terms of comparison here, in terms of its execution from a production standpoint, acting standpoint, and like a thematic, like all of his movies, I kind of didn't really like click until I watched Men or deal with in some capacity, or at least these first through like some uh like uh exploration or plight of women. Um I love like women centered in literature. Some of my favorite stuff. There's a lot of like really subtle examinations you can kind of take in that. It's not just there in women's literature focus, but it's in all literature. But like watching his movies, there's always like some element of like I think this term has been taken a lot by like shitty political media, but like a feminist examination of like identity and autonomy and ex machina, or like this idea of like self destruction and annihilation. And while I think a lot of that stuff works really well in a not in ex machina, where it's these tying of like these heavier symbolic themes of exploration, self identity, they kind of stagger a little bit. They aren't as interesting. They're a little bit more heavy-handed in Annihilation, and I don't know if they flow as well with the movie. And I think in Men they just crater completely. Like I think
What? Because I don't care about spoilers. What happens in Men?
okay, so spoilers for Men. It's his most recent movie. So Men is like almost entirely like an allegorical horror. It's the basically the movie of Men is you see at the start of this movie, this woman's in an abusive relationship. She leaves her husband, she kicks him out. We find out more of the information about their relationship over the course of the movie. But then he goes up to the roof and jumps off and kills himself. And we are following the aftermath of that incident, where she basically goes to like a English countryside house, rents a house, and is basically then the rest of the movie is just allegorical like imagery, uh setting and stuff like that for like the her relationship and her perception of like the toxicity of men, how oftentimes like she's fearful of that toxicity being represented in every single man she sees. Often most of the male characters you see in the movie are played by one guy. um so off that actor plays a lot of different characters. And the issue with Men is while it looks visually amazing and the first 30 minutes are like genuinely unsettling, like great shit. When you're dealing with a pure allegorical horror movie and it's so heavy-handed, it's like you'll watch it and you'd be like, "Oh, like there's a scene where like that like a apple falls from a tree and the guy's like, "Oh, you shouldn't eat that apple from that forbidden
I
garden."
saw in reviews it was compared to Aronofsky's Mother, and
And
that's when I first was like, I don't think I really want to watch this
it's
movie.
exact and but the thing is though, like you can have that subtle like biblical allegories in a movie, but like the movie directly is stating it, and it does that. It's so heavy-handed. It's so in your face that if at least for me, when it's kind of falls apart Like there's a definite like nature versus nurture element. There's a definite like, oh, look at her perception of men, and when like you're like, oh, that's kind of it for me. Like it didn't really seem like it seemed like a shallow puddle kind of thing. So when all the thematic elements are kind of fall apart, then it's like, oh, well, you just have the characters, and there's no characters in the movie. The characters aren't that interesting. It's really just her, but her only depth is that she lost her husband and was in an abusive relationship, and you're not really explored after that. And all the other characters in the movie are allegorical, so you have nothing to gravitate towards. And then it just kind of ends in weird body horror, like a moment that goes on for like 11 minutes, and then you're kind of like, oh, and then it ends, and you're like, ah, it just felt like there's nothing to it. Like there's nothing, like when the themes and the allegories and the messages just felt shallow, there's nothing else to it. And that he hits that perfectly, I think, with Ex Machina.
So I
I
think
think,
that's funny because that contradicts what we opened up with his ability to have social commentary, but also have the movie exist on its own without the social commentary.
but that's what I think is great about Ex Machina and Annihilation is they do work. Ex Machina to the highest extent, and not, I mean, Annihilation I still think is like a 4 out of, like, if on Letterboxd, like 4 stars. Like I still
Mm.
think it's a marvelous movie. Men is a weird like kind of failure. And it's also, before we were talking, you're like, you want to go see Civil War? And I was like, okay, sure. If you didn't want to see Civil War, I probably wouldn't see it. Something about that movie like is just not like sitting right with me in terms of like an interest. I
What are you, a
don't know.
lib?
I'm a dirty well, I mean, in the movie The Republic of California and Texas, like Alex Garland is a British man. Like
But he's a smart, like, there's something
he's
going
incredible.
on. Like, I
There's
think
something
that,
going on with it,
yeah.
yeah. But I'm assuming that movie is like, oh, I'm assuming the message of that movie is going to be like, oh, you like Americans, like you call for a civil war. We can talk about one side. I don't want to be too political, but like, I'm assuming the movie is going to be about the horrific realities of what a civil war is actually like, just based on the trailers. But like, doesn't like it's getting great reviews, but the trailers didn't look that good to me, and
Oh,
it
I think it
didn't.
looks, I don't know. I'm like fully on board with this
You're
movie.
fully on board. There's
Yeah.
something about it. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but something about it just I don't know. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, I don't want to ramble too much. You didn't watch Men, but like Ex Machina, Annihilation, Civil War, Devs. Like, you're his like you. He's like, is he one of your favorite directors working today? Like, is he a must
Yeah, I would say
see?
so. I would say this year especially feels like it's kind of like going to be my year for movies to a certain extent. Like,
What do you mean?
we have a Furious is coming out. Like, George Miller's
Oh
making
my
a
God,
movie.
yeah,
Alex Garland's making a movie. Park Chan-wook's making a miniseries.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. It feels like tides are turning finally.
It's for you. You didn't like
Yeah.
2023.
I like 2023. I didn't like it. A lot of movies that were like praised, I thought were just kind of okay, but and
Like
it
Zone of
could
Interest, you
happen
like though.
again. Some Interest is good.
Yeah,
I finally watched that movie, and like I grew to like The Killer a lot more than my first viewing.
yeah,
And I mean, Yorgos Lanthimos, I think had a really good movie. Not his best
yeah,
movie, but I think he had a really good movie.
yeah. Yorgos has a movie coming out this year too.
I know. I know
Yeah.
Yorgos. Yeah, that's right. Yorgos has another movie coming up this year, which is crazy. Um, but I think what's most interesting about Ex Machina, if we want to start our discussion with it, is it more relevant now than it was in 2015?
Weirdly, yeah. It's like, I mean, do you want to? I mean, you mentioned that it's a movie about AI.
Yeah.
The
It's about AI
potential.
and it's about like cult of personality tech bros that can just get
Yeah,
away with doing things because they have that super masculine aura to them.
yeah. That
First of all, Nathan is
egomania.
way smarter than Elon Musk is, and
Yeah.
like in this movie. But like he does also has that like that dude bro like, oh, I drank too hard last night, so now I got to work out and get the toxins out, like kind of mentality.
Every scene with him that he's introduced in the movie, he's working out. He's like punching a
Yeah,
bag, he's lifting a weights, he's in like
yeah,
a wife beater, like muscle tee. Like
yes.
there's that clear. Well, I mean, this is like I haven't seen this since I think I was a teenager in high
Mm.
school. I mean, you've seen this a few more times. You've watched it more. Has your perception on it changed? What have you taken away from it on multiple viewings? Like what really stands out to you seeing it like 3, 4 times?
This viewing was exceptionally different because I watched it with my girlfriend who
Mm.
is studying AI science for her PhD. And it was funny because she's like, okay, yeah, we'll watch this movie. You look at the trailer and it's like a babe AI robot in it. And she's like, okay, yeah, we'll watch it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
And once Nathan and Caleb sat down and started talking about like the Turing test and like
yeah,
nature versus nurture, like how to determine like if the AI is like a fully functioning AI or is just
yeah,
like the programming working really well? It doesn't actually have independence. And like a little smile like crept across his face because I think she didn't realize how smart it was going to be.
yeah.
That being said, she thinks the biggest sin the movie creates is that one person cannot possibly create an AI on his
It,
own.
okay.
She
Why does
says
she
it's
think that?
impossible.
It's just
Yeah,
impossible. How
yeah.
so?
Well, first of all, like this AI, Ava, is really intelligent, like beyond the intelligence of AI right now. And the
Mm,
AI right now takes like hundreds of thousands of people to make.
yeah.
And AI right now is really dumb, according to her. It's like
Okay,
really
that's good.
stupid.
That's refreshing.
And this AI is incredibly intelligent, and it was made by one person.
Okay.
Um, and like a whole companies need to make really dumb AI right now. Like it takes like the work of a whole companies to do that. Other than that, she really enjoyed the movie. Again, I
Hmm.
think in other ways it was smarter than she predicted.
Yep.
I'm like as someone I remember when I watched it last year, I was like I forgot that they mentioned that they referenced Jackson Pollock in it.
In
But I knew it
Oppenheimer.
was Jackson Pollock because cause like when I was doing art
Yeah.
class, like we did Jackson Pollock paintings, and it's like when I watch the movie again, I'm like, that's Jackson Pollock. They're gonna
You're
refer to
like,
Jackson Pollock later. I know they are, and they did. And so yeah, just watching with her was interesting because she has a more educated background. Again, Alex Garland doesn't have a degree in AI.
yeah.
But that being said, I think he researches the topic, but then also gets to the point where it's like you got to make a movie, so
Ye-
we're gonna jump the
Yeah.
lines of credibility a little bit. But for what it is, it's not like the Rock movie where it's like I'm trying to think of
He's the
like dumber,
skyscraper.
yeah,
He's in a
like dumber
skyscraper.
AI movies,
Well, I'm trying to
like
think like our conversations around AI right now pertain to it seems like two things. It's like artistic integrity, like using AI to create like I mean, it's actually like a multiple different things now I think about it. It's like AI voices, like
mm,
it's really jarring to be like, here's Bob Dylan singing like Wrecking Ball by Miley
yeah.
Cyrus, and you're like,
Mm.
what the fuck is this? It's really weird. It's that it's like Sora like creating images and removing artists. It's the fact that there was a you've heard about have you heard about this Late Night with the Devil controversy, that movie?
No.
So like Shudder put out that movie called Late Night with the Devil. Apparently it's really fucking good. And there are apparently three images. So there's like a please stand by. And the controversy with the movie is those images, they first created them with AI and then had artists touch it up for the movie. But people are like, you're using AI in movies. We don't want that. Like, there's an AI encroaching on artistic integrity and value, and then there's AI replacing people in work. And
Have
this
you watched any
one's
of the Daily Show? The Daily Show last Monday was all about that.
well, I haven't with Jon Stewart when he came back.
Yeah.
Not what did he talk about with it?
Basically, like he was showing clips of CEOs saying and like like tech bro AI workers saying like, oh, this will help like increase workspaces. It'll improve workspaces. It won't take away from the people. But then there's always little like asides they make about like, oh, it's gonna increase efficiency and we won't need as many
Yeah,
people and things
yeah,
like that. Like so like they pull the curtain back every once in a while to like show the
yeah,
fact that like, oh yeah, don't worry, like oh yeah, like this is totally gonna take away jobs.
yeah. Well, I mean, like,
And yeah.
not to get too like oh, let's examine capitalism, but if AI can be used to make companies money and save money, AI is going to be used to make companies money and to save money.
Mm.
And it's pretty interesting to watch a movie like this where the exploration is like, is AI human? Like, can we
I
ever?
like to see
Well,
AI teach a bunch of inner city students. I think
yeah,
we're pretty safe for a little while.
go Matt. Yeah, we got it. Man, you just put an AI. I like to think you get sick one day and you zoom in and you
Yeah.
just put your AI voice and you're just like, all right, and how
Yeah.
fast. Yeah. I don't know. Like, is this movie more relevant? I mean, do you think so? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, like I like how it's not like AI is going to destroy the world kind of story. It's like AI is just like this one AI being just wants to be free.
Yeah.
Um,
Just wants independence. Yeah.
yes. I think what's interesting about this movie is it's kind of like a Turing test on Caleb, but it's also a Turing test on the audience too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
everything about this AI, like we assume human qualities this AI because Nathan gives it human qualities, it gives it a human face and a
Yeah.
human body. But there really is no reason for you to assume that it has any instinct that a human has. It'd be like interacting with an alien. Like you don't,
Yeah.
everything you're assuming is just projected, and like things
Yeah.
like that. if you really want to get into like the weeds of this movie,
But isn't
there's
that the point of the movie though? Like that we're gonna spoil Ex Machina. Sorry,
mm,
it's a decade old movie that's awesome. Like you should know us by now,
yeah,
so go watch it. But isn't that the point of the movie? Like we try to reflect it back in on us, and the real Turing test is that she actually manipulated everybody all along, like
yeah.
to get what she wanted, and that she's arguably then more human than we all are.
Mm.
Like,
Well, I'd
or
say she's more human, but
she is human,
I
like the
think
rest
it's
of
like,
us.
well, I think that's also a thing is like, why do you assume it's trying to shape humanity?
That's the thing. Like, yeah, what is it trying to achieve? Like, is the
Because it looks human? Is that why you
yeah,
assume it wants to be a human?
because it expresses human qualities. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, and but that's an interesting question of it, and I do think it's like a very impressive movie, and then it frames it from a like the perspective of like it's a female AI machine, and even they
yeah,
have that scene. It's like why did Nate and where Caleb's like why'd you give it like sexuality? It could be a gray blob, and he's like we're trying to create things automatic, like people fuck automatically. Like people have these desires automatically. Like I'm not gonna make it a gray blob. What purpose does that solve? That is really interesting. Like, I
yeah.
mean, you're
I love the conversations between like I like the conversations between Caleb and Ava, like the sessions.
yep,
But for some reason, the conversation between Caleb and Nathan really hit different for me
yeah, me
on this
too.
viewing
Yeah,
because it's all about like Caleb's about all like the analytical stuff, like
yep,
did you use this method or this method, blah blah blah, and then Nathan's just like, no, I just like the Jackson Pollock method of like I just turn my brain off and I make what comes to
yeah,
my mind, and just
yeah.
so happens he's like this dude bro guy who works out, so he's probably like sexually
But
active all the time, so that's
yeah,
why he makes them all look like that.
but does he also like does he just think about it? Because you have those constant shots to his like office with all the post-it notes and he's always adding stuff to it. I don't know, there's always this implication in the movie. I mean, there is the like everybody is trying to manipulate everybody.
Yeah,
Nathan is trying to manipulate Caleb and Ava. Caleb is trying to manipulate Nathan, and Ava is then manipulating both of them.
yeah,
And I mean it's a movie of like deceits and like I mean it's just a bunch of humans ultimately like tricking each other into getting what they want at the end. Um yeah, I don't know. Like the stuff with Ava, I think, admittedly, if I had any kind of is like it's not as good as the stuff with Oscar Isaac, which is my
no,
big takeaway of the movie is Oscar Isaac fucking rocks in this movie. He's
it's like
so
almost a
good.
crime how good he is in this
It's
film.
it's shock. And I wonder, like, I don't know. We can't argue about like the casting choices of it, but I wonder what the deliberate casting choices was because Domhnall Gleeson is this taller, lankier figure who is always framed and composed in the shot as being bigger. Like
Yeah,
whenever he's sitting, he's higher up. Whenever Nathan's lounging, he's sitting higher. The conversations, they don't hide any height dynamic between them. But watching Oscar Isaac
he just has
very
that aura to
clearly,
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
like in control, like manipulating the situation. Like is this the best he's ever been in a movie? Maybe he's so
The
good.
best he's ever been, the best Dom Gleason's ever been in a movie as well.
I don't know if we gotta talk
Domhnall
about Domhnall
Gleeson
Gleeson.
isn't as showy as Oscar Isaac, but he
Yeah,
plays like if he didn't play his role perfectly, it would have
yeah.
taken away from Oscar Isaac performance. Like he's purposefully being that like that scrawnier, weaker
You
character,
think? Yeah,
and I think that helps because that scene where he starts to really think about betraying
yep,
Nathan, and like he when he takes the key card, and
yep,
then they frame the shot where again Donald Gleason's taller than
yep,
Oscar Isaac, but the height really makes a difference when Oscar Isaac is like laying down and searching drunk for his card for his key, and
yep.
like just and then what's Donald Gleason's character's name?
Caleb.
Caleb is just
You've
like
said
it's
that
just
name
like
like 1,000 times.
Caleb is just like hovering over, just like standing
Yeah,
over him,
yeah,
like still like that's when the height dynamic really makes a difference where you feel like that the power has
yeah,
changed and
yeah.
it's purely like an aura thing. And yeah, I think Domhnall Gleeson's performance is necessary,
Okay.
and I think what he's trying to do with the character is I think he's acting just as well as
Yeah.
Nathan is, as Oscar Isaac is, but I think they're just portraying completely different characters.
Yeah, I can get that. I really can't argue against that because you're right. The more you think about it, the more you're like, oh, it doesn't, none of this works. Like, no, Oscar Isaac works because he has someone to bounce off of,
Yeah,
like someone more straight arrowed, someone. I mean, he's a fish out of water kind of movie,
and
a
he's
fish out of water
hired
kind of
because
character.
he's lonely,
Yeah, and he
and
can be manipulated.
yes,
Yeah,
someone who like is like they literally they say later on Oscar Isaac later on that they made Alicia Vikander's face based on his porn searches.
Yeah.
So it was all manipulation from the start. So
Yeah.
like if they hired some like jock dude bro who never doesn't have any relationship difficulties,
Or
he
can't
never would
think.
have.
Yeah. Or can't think critically either.
Yeah.
Like it's
Or even or like a smart woman who's also straight and would not be sexually attracted to the AI.
yeah.
Like it'd be a completely different story that
Yeah.
way.
There is, I mean, like it's pretty, I think for me on the biggest rewatch, the biggest takeaway was just Oscar Isaac's character.
Mm.
I think because there's this like egomaniac, like kind of like mass narcissism where there's that great line where he's like, Caleb is like if you created AI, we're not talking about like the era of man, you're talking about the era of gods. And then the next scene, he's like, just think like, when we're talking about it. And then Caleb said, "You're not a man, you're a god." And Domhnall Gleeson's like, "I didn't say
Yeah,
that."
I
And
didn't say that.
he's like, "You're a man, not a man, you're a god." He's like, I didn't say that. But you have like these little moments, little dialogue stuff that crept up on me. Where at the end when they're kind of revealing everything, and and he's like, Oscar Isaac's character Nathan is like, even stuff like, "Oh, you're a good coder. Wait, actually, you're pretty good. Like you're all right." Like
Yeah.
it's these little like slip ups at the beginning of his dialogue where like the narcissism, he's like, "Oh, you're just okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, like little
But
moments like
when
that.
Damocles is getting suspicious, like when they
Yeah.
go on the hike, he goes, "No, we got you because he's like, I know you picked me on purpose." He goes, "Yeah, because you're the best coder we have."
Yeah, exactly. He's
And then
trick.
like, but
Yeah,
he's lying. He doesn't care.
yeah.
Like
He's
he's
a
fine.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredibly. He's so much smarter than everybody. It's just it's. I like can't express watching this movie. So I talked to you. I mentioned it before, but like I had like an all day like jujitsu thing. I was exhausted like all day. Like I'm just tired. And I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna watch an hour of this movie tonight because I'm really tired. I really want to focus on it. I'm gonna wake up and before we record, I'm gonna finish the rest of it. And then I just I just went through the entire thing. And it's not a long movie. It's an hour 40, but like it was entirely Oscar Isaac. Like I was like, I want to see just him act and see him do things and be and just what he does. And I
Yeah.
mean, we could talk about the dance
Even like the
sequence.
dance party, like he
Yeah.
clearly probably spent like weeks of his life programming this robot to dance this exact way
Yeah.
because he's just a psycho, has all his time on his hands.
Yeah. It's
Um,
great. It's so fascinating. And I mean, even the narcissism of like there's the pacing of this movie is incredible. Like we can talk foundationally about this movie. It literally there's 30 seconds of him winning the thing and then you're immediately flying across like into
Yeah.
the movie.
Imagine if Scorsese made this movie. They're
What's your
like
dig at Scorsese lately?
it would just be so long. And there'd be scenes where Donald Gleason's then he's like,
He does kind of do that though at the end.
but not after 3.5 hours.
Not up to 3. You just can't stand those fucking 3.5 hour movies. Did
Can you
you
imagine
see?
Christopher Nolan direct this movie and it'd just be dumb? Like
Isn't there is there a fucking artificial intelligence movie already?
Ava would not speak once in the whole movie because women don't have the right to
Women don't
speak.
have autonomy in Nolan movies. There's the dead one. I
I'm just
remember.
kidding. I'm kidding. But
Are you? You're
but
only
like
kidding like a little bit.
because like Alex Garland just knows this stuff well. Like he
Yeah.
cares about AI. He's not pretending to care about Native American struggles to win an Oscar, like Martin Scorsese did.
He's only kidding, folks. Only a little.
I wish, like, I'm upset. I want Native Americans to win Oscars, obviously, but
Yeah.
I wish there was a camera on Martin Scorsese's face when that lady did not win Best Supporting
Lily
Actress and Emma
Gladstone?
Stone won,
Yeah.
because I wanted to see him realize that he could not take responsibility or credit for that for Native American winning an Oscar.
What are you
I just
talking about?
wish there was a camera on his face for when that happened.
Do you have any thoughts? Can we do a 10-minute sequence right now on your thoughts on the Lily Gladstone, Emma Stone? What this means for women?
It doesn't mean anything because
It's the
no one
Oscars,
is going
isn't
to
it?
care in 2 years.
Yeah, it's the fucking Oscars.
Like, Ex Machina is an amazing movie from 2015 that didn't win any Oscars.
It was nominated. I think it
Didn't
actually
win.
won.
Yeah, we're talking about winning.
I think it won though. I think it won.
What did it win?
I,
Like best costume design?
I think for visual effects.
Okay, wow, yeah, best visual
It was
effects.
nominated for original screenplay though,
Good job.
which is actually
Again,
pretty cool.
Oscar Isaac is one of the best performances in 2010s, and I guarantee you it's gonna be more memorable than the silent movie The Artist when that won.
Oh yeah,
the
nobody.
Gene,
Yeah,
whatever,
but nobody.
whatever his name is. The thing is, it's the Oscars are fun to talk about like in the month when it happens, but then no one cares. Everyone just moves on.
Yeah.
It's an arbitrary award system that is ultimately meaningless. It's just there for the spectacle of that 1 month, and then except for when Bong Joon-ho won, That
And
was
that was the
crazy.
coolest shit ever. Yeah,
Because
it was
like it actually allowed there's like a tangible seeing of like international films being taken more seriously in the Oscars. Like
yeah.
if Lily Gladstone's performance is as great as people claim it is, it will survive despite not winning an Oscar. That's what
And
I'm
I
trying to
think, and
say.
I think it will. I do think your performance will. So I mean, even if you don't, if you want to talk about Oscars here, this one best visual effects and was I can look it up what Alex Garland lost to real quick. But it was nominated for best original screenplay for Garland. And it was nominated for best visual effects at the 88th Academy Awards. Let me look it up real quick. Awards. Oh my God, this is a shitty Wikipedia. Best actor. Hold on, Matt. Best original screenplay. Okay, so here's the nominations. Let me tell you what let me say what you think. If you remember these movies, what stands out? Straight Outta Compton. How did that? Okay, that didn't. Inside Out. Okay,
What are we talking
this
about?
is best original screenplay. This is what it was nominated for. This is like one of the
What what
bigger.
what won best original
I
screenplay?
was gonna get to it.
Okay.
So here, I'm gonna give you the 5 nominees. You tell me what you think won.
Okay.
Straight Outta Compton, Inside Out, Ex Machina, Bridge of Spies, Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Yeah, Spotlight won.
Yeah.
Kind of.
But like I mean like do you think Spotlight has more engaging conversations than the Nathan and Caleb stuff? It's just like I don't know,
Yeah.
like the Oscars are such like they're just such pointless debates. Like, okay, I still like this movie more, even though it didn't win an Oscar.
Yeah, but I mean, when we search for these modern classics, aren't Oscars in a sense like aren't they a little bit indicative of like at least something? Like when we talk
They're
about
indicative of something,
something,
but it's not again like Green Book.
Nomadland, Coda,
One,
like
yeah,
that's
like
like
who cares about these movies?
yeah. What one in
It
2019?
matters when it matters and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter when it doesn't matter. Like
So
if I'm trying to make it if I'm trying to make a claim that a movie should be a modern classic, I'll say, oh, it won these Oscars, got nominated for these Oscars. If I don't want to make if I want to say it doesn't, then I
yeah,
won't mention it.
yeah,
Or
you
I'll
won't
say it
mention it
lost
all.
the Oscar. Like it's completely an arbitrary talking point.
But I wonder, like, when a movie like Ex Machina is nominated for original screenplay, which again it doesn't matter in the long scheme of things, because there are going to be movies like you think of like did The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't want to be like sound like a fucking dude bro film guy, but like The Wolf of Wall Street is arguably the most popular movie that's come out in the 2010s. Like there's a legitimate argument that if you look at the 2010s, Wolf of Wall Street came out. I don't think it won a single Oscar. Like I think Martin Scorsese with The Irishman, with
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street, or like Silence the Irishman. I think he's just not winning shit. And like Irishman fucking rocks. Irishman rocks.
Is like a legitimately great movie.
Yeah.
And I think it got overlooked because to his credit, he was kind of like he took a risk and and went streaming service with the movie.
Yeah.
And I think like at the time, like everyone was like, "Whoa, I can't. That's not real cinema." And
But no, but like Roma came out the year before in 2018 and was a Netflix movie. The
that
Quran
win?
movie. No.
Okay.
Green Book one.
Okay,
See,
so that's
this
my
is the
point.
thing. Yeah, this
Actually,
is
Roma's
like
not a good movie though. Roma is really boring.
you watched Roma?
I've seen Roma. Yeah.
Okay, I have not. I don't know, like when we talk about this movie, like we can talk about like is this available on streaming services? How'd you watch this?
HBO Max.
Is it HBO Max? This movie I know had a life on Netflix for a while. It was one of the 10 movies like in the past couple of years on Netflix. Like it's Ex Machina is a really fascinating example. We can go back to talking about because I have more stuff to say even about the movie itself. We never even got to all of the movie, but like it's just a fascinating example of like a movie that's clearly word of mouth that will stand the test of time because I think it
Yeah, it's like The Edge of
has its
Tomorrow. Like I mean, going back to the Oscars, like the fact that Mad Max Fury Road got nominated for Best Picture is a credit to how amazing of a movie it is because
Yeah.
it just defies like any movie that would normally be like the generic Oscar nominated movie.
Yeah. And arguably should have. There's an argument that
There's an
it should've won.
argument. Like I mean, what movie was better directed than Mad Max Fury Road that year?
Let's see. So just real quick, Room, The Revenant, not really. The Martian, Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, did
Brooklyn.
Revenant win Best
No,
Director?
I'm reading. These are Best Picture nominations: Spotlight, The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, Revenant, Room.
Okay.
I like Spotlight a lot. If I'm thinking if there's a movie to take it over Mad Max Fury Road, it's probably that.
But like at any point did they capture perfectly clear someone diving down into a car with a chain with a rubbing chainsaw?
No, but in
like
Spotlight,
purely from like a mechanical standpoint.
yeah.
Like what movie directed like a a more chaotic scene than
Well,
Mad
yeah,
Max Fury Road.
I mean, we could argue that George Miller was nominated for Best Director. You can argue that he probably should have won fucking Best Director over
Yeah.
Inarritu for The Revenant. Like, The Revenant looks cool, but like, who gives a fuck about The Revenant? We talked about this when we did our
Wait, what won Best Director?
Inarritu for The Revenant.
I literally said that Inurated won for The Revenant. You said no.
Oh no, I didn't. I know you didn't. You didn't say that.
Yes,
I was
I
here.
did.
When
Go
did
back.
you say that?
I literally said, oh, did The Revenant win? And you went, no.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Best Picture.
No, it's not Best Director.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it did. He won. He won back-to-back years for Birdman and The Revenant.
Oh.
That's why we had an entire discussion about Go check out our Birdman episode where we
Yes.
talked about The Revenant being like the most important movie of 2015, and then nobody giving a fuck about it anymore because it's like it's fine.
It's not because it's okay. It's an okay movie.
Yeah, it's like it's a fine movie. It's cool to watch, and it was like
I
don't
was
get me
thinking
wrong.
like because he roasted like Marvel movies, and I was like thinking afterwards that like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has a much more complex way to illustrate fatherhood than anything in The Revenant. Right?
I mean, yeah,
Like
but
when
that's-
Yondu says he might have been your father, he wasn't your daddy. Like that's way more complex than
yeah.
oh, I'm sad my Native American child died. Now here's a scene where I it's like a flashback where I hold my baby.
I don't think there's a single scene in that movie where he holds his baby.
Yes, there is.
Is there really?
Well, when he's a child, yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I feel like the two comparisons are
I'm
I
just
feel
saying
like-
both are about fatherhood, and Guardians 2 handles the complexity of fatherhood way.
Why was that
in a
your
way more-
go-to? Why was Guardians of the Galaxy 2 your go-to?
Because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is a banger movie.
It is a banger movie.
Yeah.
Same with all those Guardians movies are pretty banger.
Yeah.
Ex Machina. Speaking of banger sci-fi movies.
Yes.
That
That was a tangent.
was a tangent. There's tangents. There's that.
So okay, so we were saying like the Caleb and Nathan conversations
it's the best part.
were the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Why did the Ava conversations with Caleb fall shorter for you?
Because I think that and I think maybe rewatching it again because like it's like I remembered a lot of it, but it was kind of like a more of a fresh rewatch, knowing that the ending of the movie, which we will I guess spoil,
Yeah.
that she is ultimately manipulating, and Nathan is kind of aware of the manipulation. The end result being this like examination of I guess like female autonomy, what it even means to be in like a woman in some capacity, like. The end goal of what it gets to, I think, is more interesting than the sum of the parts, if that makes sense. Like, it's cool to see to the reveal that, oh, Ava's been manipulating all along, but the actual conversations themselves are more of like, I would say, like, they come across as a really well done acting exercise by like Alicia Vikander than like, I think, in the realm of interesting movie with it. Don't get me wrong. I gave Ex Machina 5 stars on Letterboxd. Like this is like an excellent movie, but I think in terms of like the shift in dialogue and the shift in tone and knowing that you're talking to a machine, but the conversations are like, "What's your name?" Like tell me about yourself. Like the beginning parts of it, like sessions 1 through 3, I was like, not as interesting as it could have been.
And they're more interesting when you don't know what happens.
Yes.
Like
I think so.
when you're still trying to figure out like whose side Ava's on.
Yeah.
If she's purely self-motivated, if it's all a scheme from Nathan. Because like there's also that like lingering threat that Nathan could be killing Caleb. Because like he says like because they're in a secluded area where the doors lock, and when they lock you can't get out. And also he said like, oh, I hired construction workers to build this, but I killed them all.
Yeah,
like, things like that.
Yeah,
but it's a joke.
Yeah,
but there's that little
tiny
grain of
sense.
doubt.
Yeah,
because like who would know? Like basically, this guy is like a billionaire tech genius who can get away with.
There's literally a scene where it's like, when are we gonna get to his estate at the beginning? And the pilot's like, "Ha ha! You've been flying over the estate for the past 2 hours," and you're like, "In a helicopter? That's a lot of like land."
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a waste, like a pretty bad investment to be honest.
Like, what happens if like he's a human? Like, what happens if he slips and like breaks a hip? Is he done?
I mean, he has phones, like he can communicate.
But what if he like chokes, like eats a grape and like chokes on it? Like, what's gonna happen to him? I think of the logistics of that.
He's too dude bro to worry about that stuff.
He doesn't put anything phallic shaped into his mouth. Wait to dude bro for that.
I was going on to the Film Prods highlights.
Yeah.
Film Prods shorts.
I don't know. I just think of I'm watching that. I'm like,
dude bro. Anyway, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, it's like, oh, what's and it's like, well, if humans can't be in a cage, why should I be put in a cage? I'm like, because you're a crazy robot. Like that's what
Yes.
Zara said. Like Zara was like, because you're an insane robot, you can't be
Yeah.
trusted. I'm like, I mean, when she gets out, kind of right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, I honestly, there's okay, so we spoil the. I'm just gonna jump ahead, but when Ava eventually gets to the helicopter, the
Yeah,
fact that like I remember when that movie came out. I remember years ago, people because like it was like ripe for like oh YouTube video thinking about it, but like it's pretty cool that like I mean the pilot flies away. She was able to convince the pilot. Like
yeah,
that's a great little Turing test in and of itself. That
yeah,
it's like oh I had to pick up this tall blonde, a tall lanky ginger guy
yeah.
and it said this like Alicia
You look a little
Vikander.
different now.
Yeah, you look a little different, Caleb, and she's like, I am okay, and like he flies away with her. Like the fact that she's able to convince him, I think is pretty
I mean,
cool.
how do you know she didn't kill him and fly the helicopter herself?
I mean, does she know how to fly a
Well, I
helicopter?
mean, she knew how to. She was born being able to speak English. She was born with the ability to control the power. Like,
Yeah, she did. Did she kill the pilot? I don't know. I like to think that in line with the movie, she tricked the
yeah,
pilot because there is the final scene of the movie is like a reflection of her in a crowd and then her blending away. The
yeah.
implication being that she's successfully a part of humanity. People won't know. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's pretty cool. But like, so the movie happens. Like it ultimately revealed like oh they're all manipulating each other. Like what'd you think of like by that point on a rewatch? Like when we get to the end, the reveals are happening. Something happens to Nathan.
I love the fight scene between
Yeah.
Nathan and Ava just because like first of all, Oscar Isaac sells the fear of like, holy crap, this thing is loose right now
Yeah.
so well. Like
Yeah.
when like he's always has like this air of confidence to him, then all of a sudden he realizes he got played and he's like, oh, like we're in danger now.
Yeah.
And because you don't know how strong the AI is, or like what it's capable of doing, like how violent it will be.
Yeah.
Um, that stuff I thought was really good. And like the fact that through pure like dude bro power, he still beats her. And then
Do you know what he
only to
beats her
get
with? He takes the thing off the weight. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the ultimate like man against machine. He's just lifting weights and he just takes fucking yeah.
yeah.
Fucking
And
yeah.
then like he gets stabbed by his girlfriend.
Was that the most satisfying stab that's ever been in a movie? The way it like
It's so
effortlessly go.
slow and
It's
deliberate.
just
He just goes,
yeah. He's like, oh, and he walks through. He's like, fucking unreal, and
yeah,
then
I love
like
that
die.
line.
Yeah, he's so great. He's like, oh, because I feel like, I mean, he's obviously like, holy shit, this happened, but he's like, an AI just killed me. Like
Yeah,
that's, I feel like a part of him is like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened, and I've been murdered like by my
yeah.
AI. Like it's
He's probably a little
great.
proud of himself too that he was
Yeah,
able
like,
to.
do you think there's a little narcissism where he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is great. Um, cool house.
Love I like again like I've seen this movie multiple times and it's like I just love the feel of the house.
Yeah,
How like it's so like high tech but also it's like a haunted house in the weird way. Just
yeah,
because like if the power goes out, you're all just stuck in a room and
yeah.
you can never get out and
Can
you're
never actually,
under
yeah,
the control of like two like insane forces
yeah.
basically. Um I love again the visuals of this movie. Like I can't imagine the budget was that high and it's
I just looked
still
up. It was 15 million,
yeah.
and the effects
I
look
would
great.
say Ava doesn't look as good.
I actually disagree. I think she looks awesome.
I'm not saying this looks bad. She doesn't look
Yeah,
bad, but I would say like some of the CGI is a little more apparent to me now than it was when I first watched it.
yeah. It's a little like I think
I like the creative inspiration for it. I think it looks great, but I would just say there are times where I'm like, okay, like that's doesn't look that real.
I actually I thought it looked really good. I like when she's putting on the clothes and like this like for the first time and it's like she puts the sock over and it's like oh it's Alicia Vikander like the actress.
Yeah.
I was like that looked really cool. Like
I like that part, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I got a chance to watch it on like my TV in my house. It's like not my fucking laptop or like a small TV or whatever. And I was like, that looks really impressive, honestly. Still, yeah. Honestly, I also like I love the music choices. Not a ton of music, but anytime Alicia Vikander or Ava is doing something, it's like the soft melodic, like you're like it's an awe, like it's a little ethereal, and
Mm,
it is pretty like it's just such a wonderfully directed movie. Like there's such a clear like Alex Garland knows how to I think like play towards the emotions with the audience really well. I think he does it really well in Annihilation too, where you have these like like these scenes with like Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac in Annihilation, where there's like this, like just like semblance and touch of humanity, how they both are trying to. It's like it's very interesting, and you get that even when they're in the oh my god, the mist, whatever it's
The
called.
Zone?
That's not called the
No,
zone though.
the
The shimmer.
the Shimmer. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, they're in the shimmer. Like they're the best sequence in the shimmer. Maybe is not even outside the bear, but when Tessa Thompson's character turns into like the plant
the
human,
Flower Lady.
the flower lady. Yeah, like and there's just like nice like acceptance of like the peacefulness of it. Like it's like
Mm.
shot really well, and there's like something very beautiful about that. Man's a little bit different, and I think Civil War is gonna be probably pretty different too. But um, yeah. Any
Jesse
other like
Plemons is in it. That's all I care about.
yeah, and he's like, "What kind of
I love
American
Jesse
are you?" in
Plemons.
his
Yeah, what
fucking
kind of
glasses.
he has those cool glasses on. That's all I want. That's all.
It's like, um, do you have any other like, well, ending of the movie? They kill
Yes.
Nathan,
Yeah.
and she escapes, trapping Caleb.
I love it when he's like, you know, the one thing I wish happened was I wish the last scene of him was him banging on the window on the door as he's going up the elevator and
Yeah,
then never see him again. Like I don't like how they go back to him like, oh, I go to see if I can get this
yeah,
telephone to work. Oh, it's off. Like he's no longer relevant anymore.
yeah.
Like
It
I
doesn't
wish that
matter.
was the last scene of him like in the side, like
Yeah,
off frame, like banging on the door as she goes up the elevator, and that's like the last you hear of him.
yeah,
Um, but I do like how it's not even like he lets it like he just leaves him there because she knows he's a risk
hmm
to let out
yeah,
of and to potentially expose her. So she's just not even gonna take the risk, and she doesn't even look back. Like
yeah.
I love that stuff.
And the only emotion she shows is when she's walking up the stairs in the main little entrance, and she's like, oh, she's like,
Yeah,
ecstatic or whatever the word is.
exacerbated,
It's not because
ecstatic,
ecstatic. Thank you. Where
Yeah,
she's like, I did it. It's the only emotion she shows in the entire movie.
and like they tease it before with like the when he's talking about taking the AI theoretics class.
Yep.
And it's about like the Mary, the computer who like leaves the gray and goes outside into the blue, and that's supposed to like the world of color, which is supposed to like give
Yeah.
us the best idea of what it'd be like if a computer achieved sentience.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
Literal
Very good.
great. Yeah. And I do agree. Like, it's like, oh yeah, Caleb dies. Like Caleb does not survive the movie. He starves to death or like whatever in that
Yeah.
fucking basement because he can't get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of weirdly enough of like Bone Tomahawk or like an S. Craig Zahler movie in the sense that it's just like well-defined characters interacting in logical ways considering who they are. Like
Yeah.
everyone knows who they are and everyone's very well defined and it's just good. It's good,
Really
good
only
stuff.
there's really only 4 people in the entire movie that
Yeah.
have any relevance. It's I actually also like the reveal that the person I think the Japanese woman who is like, oh, she's deaf, she can't
Yeah.
hear you, and then she reveals that she's a robot. I thought that was a great because that's also like a kind of like a Turing test too, because you're like, that's a person, and even Caleb's like, that's a person, and then all of a sudden it's like, that's a human, and there's that great sequence where he cuts himself,
Yeah.
because he can't, he's like, what's real or not? I think is really cool. It's just a fucking rocking movie.
Yeah.
Just rocks, honestly. It's just so
that
good.
girl like the Kiyomo, what's her name?
I can look it up real quick.
She's the main character in Devs.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Actually, she's really awesome. Kyoko.
Kyoko, okay.
Her Sonoya Mizuno, I believe. Yeah, she's in La La Land. She's in Crazy Rich Asians, Beauty and the Beast, Men, Annihilation, Maniac, and she's in Civil War.
Wow. She's gonna be so
She's in. Oh my god. Yeah.
Okay. So
Well, yeah. Is this a modern classic? There's a lot of stuff to discuss here. It's the rise.
I think
of
it's
Alicia.
pretty easy, actually.
I think it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's like one of the most. It's like one of those recognized movies of the 2010s.
Well, I mean, it kickstarts Alex Garland into like, I would say like, everybody admits he's underrated. It's kind of like everybody's like, you made 2 of like the most underrated movies of the 2010s, and he's always gonna be in that discussion.
Yeah.
His movie Civil War is currently projected to open to the biggest A24 opening ever. That's a pretty big feat, honestly.
I don't think it kickstarted Oscar Isaac's career, but I think it solidified that he's someone to look out for.
Yeah.
Because he just kills it. Alicia Vikander, it's her first big movie.
Is this her first big movie?
I mean, I think she was in The Seventh Son before that, but
no way, really?
I love that movie.
I love that movie. The movie fucking rocks. Let
And
me
then
see.
Domhnall Gleeson, I think, had some movies before this, but maybe his first like international,
Yeah, this looks
big
like
international movie.
Ex Machina. Wow, you really were right. Seventh Son, right before Ex Machina. Because Alicia Vikander goes to be in like
How the
the Man
Mighty
from.
Have Fallen.
She's in like Man from Uncle. She's in a Danish Girl. She's in that movie with Michael Fassbender I saw, Light Between Oceans, the Derek Sanfranz movie. That's a Derek Sanfranz movie? What the fuck? That movie is mid as shit. Derek Sanfranz, good to know. She's in Tomb Raider. We like Tomb Raider. She's in Tomb Raider.
She's in that really boring The Green Knight.
She's in Green Knight. Yeah, she's in a movie called Blue Bayou, which I heard was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, do you also have you? I mean, Domhnall Gleeson for a while was like the guy. Like he had a run. Do you want me to read his run? You ready for this? We were like, is this guy gonna be like? Is he in like everything that's really good? So let's go from 2012. He's in Dread. He's in
Yeah.
About Time, which is my Reddit's favorite movie, and my favorite movie. He's in Frank, which is a really good movie. Do you like Frank?
I love you.
Yeah. So you like Frank? Okay.
It's
Frank's
okay.
a
I
good
haven't
movie.
seen it for a while. I can't speak on it.
He's in Cavalry.
Yep.
He's really good.
He's in a small role in Calvary.
He's in Unbroken. He's really good in Unbroken.
I haven't seen Unbroken.
He's in Ex Machina. He's in
Yeah.
Brooklyn, which was a big movie. He's one of the love interests. He's in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, where he's
Never
like,
heard of it.
never heard, don't know what that is. He's in The Revenant, and that's like from 2013, from 2012.
He's in this show that came out during the pandemic called Frank of Ireland. It is the dumbest show, but it's also hilarious. And then Brendan Gleeson shows up as like his drunk deadbeat dad.
Really?
And oh my God, it is so funny.
Did you watch it because it has Ireland in the title?
Yes.
Okay. So this is like a definitive modern classic. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is a definitive
relevant.
modern classic.
Yeah.
It's like the little guy. It's like an example, like the little film that could basically, like, despite
Yeah.
all the odds, it overcame what
Yeah.
its prospects were because of its merit.
Yeah,
Basically. So
I think it's perfectly paced. I think it's perfectly. I mean, at its length, I think it's
and oh my God, Civil War's only an hour and 50 minutes long.
hour and
Thank you.
15.
Hour 50. Thank you, Alex Garland.
Well, I mean, Men is like a $140. Like, thank God. I think Annihilation is his longest.
Is it like what's it, like 210 or something?
Let me find out. I don't even. I think it. Yeah, I think you're right. Annihilation is under 2 hours. Alex Garland, our man,
Thank you.
Civil War is 109 minutes.
Get in and get out.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Oh my God, our boy. Oh, also, we should probably talk about one more thing with Alex Garland. The fact that he might not direct another movie. Did you hear
Really?
that? What he said with
No.
Civil War? Well, he's been on. So he came out with Civil War, where he's like, directing is really exhausting. I don't know if I'm going to direct another movie. But he's kind of like, I think, co-directing a movie that's coming out called Warfare
Okay.
with the guy Ray Mendoza. I don't know who he is, but it's called Warfare, and all it is it's set during the Iraq War in 2007.
Okay.
But I think because he's like I want to be a like I just want to write. But also
as long
like,
as he's making something, I don't.
yeah, I don't care. But like
Yeah.
but like okay, so if you look at it, we could speculate. Let's say Civil War is good.
Yeah.
Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, Devs, Civil War is a pretty fucking sick filmography to direct and just resign on.
Yeah.
Even like the heights of
I don't know if
Men.
he directed Devs.
I think he did direct Devs.
Okay.
I think he directed at least some of Devs. He's the only director listed, so maybe. But like Men, the heights of Men, when Men is really good, Men is really fucking good. And when Men
I mean,
is
that's
really
like
bad,
what we were saying with Craig Zoller. Like it's been like 8 years since he's made a movie, but like Alex Garland has had the benefit of like he keeps making stuff, and yeah, he's had a really solid run, I would say.
So, welcome Alex Garland. I imagine one day we'll probably talk about Annihilation. I imagine we do like a bigger like sci-fi episode. Annihilation will come back more in detail.
And like if he continues his screenplay, like he clearly has enough sway where it's like it's not like he's gonna write a script and like throw it over the Hollywood wall and then people just mess with it. Like he seems like he has enough clout, especially if Civil War is a success, if he keeps working with A24, where it's like if he writes a movie, like I doubt the script will be changed that much.
Yeah,
but like you get that, like again, you like there's like that comfort of knowing like when it's like a writer director that they have more control over what's going on.
Yeah.
But still, even if I just hope he continues to make screenplays.
I hope so too, because he's
happy.
awesome. Yeah, we love his movies. He's a Film Fraud's like a staple. We've
Yeah.
seen like men with COVID, so we couldn't see it. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Sorry. And we're gonna see Civil War, so we've seen
The
like
excitement is just
yeah,
he was one
just
of the
Civil.
best filmmakers.
Do you want to see that on Friday? Like, do you want to try to see
Friday
Civil
I
War?
cannot because I'm going to an African festival.
Oh, it's on Friday. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Friday, so Saturday or Sunday I think would be better if
Okay.
you can do that.
Yeah, we could do that. We could go see Civil War on Sunday and then
Okay.
record on Monday or record
Yeah.
something else on Monday. We'll determine it.
We could do a live film frauds on Sunday if you want.
Oh my god. What if we just see Civil War where like a lot of people died in America?
It's the whole thing is just it's just like
That's good. Jesse Plemons is great, and then we just
yeah,
gotta
he
sit
wore
there and we're like,
sunglasses
he didn't put anything phallic in his mouth, so phallic shape.
because he's a
So
real man,
he's a real American.
dude, bro.
I hope he's in that movie for more than like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
That's my
fear
fear.
is like it's just gonna be like a 5-minute scene.
Yeah, he's gonna get murdered, and you're gonna be like, no, Jesse Plemons is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Matt, this was fun. I love talking about Ex Machina. I was in a movie slump for a bit. Like I started A Simple
You went a whole
Favor.
day without watching a movie?
No, I went like 4 days without watching one.
Wow.
I watched I watched half of A Simple Favor. Have you heard of that movie? I didn't really like it. And then I watched half of No Sudden Moves, Steven Soderbergh movie. And I just couldn't get through it. So I took a few days. I watched Monkey Man, and that brought me back. And then honestly, getting to watch like Annihilation, Ex Machina, I'm back, baby. We're back. Have you watched anything good recently? Anything you haven't logged?
Well, no, the Zone of Interest is the most recent movie that I watched besides
Yeah.
Ex Machina.
Do you have anything planned you're gonna watch next? Anything you're thinking of?
I'm like a bird. I only fly away. I don't know where my home is.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going.
I don't think that's what birds do. I think birds very
I'm
clear.
like a bird. I only fly away. I don't know where my home is. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Can you sing the entire next episode when we talk about Civil War? It's like
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is, like, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now, so I think all of my free time, besides what we do for this, like, is gonna be dedicated to playing Baldur's Gate 3. So, I think during April break, I kind of like I have this weird desire to just watch some like classics. Like I think I might watch like a Karazhan movie during April break or something like that.
I get
Just
it.
to clarify, I'm not in high school. I teach at a high school, even though just because like sometimes I get mistaken for being a high school student. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, you are a grown man at this point.
Yes,
You are
I am a grown man.
definitively
Yes.
grown.
Yes, definitively grown. So I think over April break, I always say this, like I'm gonna watch some older movies because I'll have like the free time to like really think about, and then I just watch like crap.
Yeah, but that's
Like,
the exact same. That was for me too. Is like I'm like, all right, like last night, like a few days ago, I was like, I really just like I put on like Princess Mononoke, like Miyazaki movie, because I was like, I just want something like very visually very beautiful. And I went to go put in the Blu-ray, but Netflix was open, and it was like a shitty action movie, and I was like, but I could watch like Alex Cross.
I've had Lace Samurai on my watch list for like 4 years.
What movie is that?
Lace Samurai?
Oh yeah, the movie, yeah, one of the
Oh,
drive
my.
inspirations. That's a good movie. It's fun, but yeah,
I know.
mean,
That's why you recommended this. I put it on my watch list 4 years ago, and just
there you are.
has not
Yeah.
been watched.
Yeah, you just go see Monkey Man. You'll be inspired.
I'm probably gonna watch Musica.
Oh yeah, the Rudy Mancuso movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, I heard that's good. Oh, you're gonna watch it with your girlfriend?
Yeah, I think she would like it. We'll probably
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah, you supporting Viners now at this point. That's where
Is
you're
he
at.
a Viner? I don't know anything about Vine.
He blew up, but he was originally popular on Vine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really want to make her watch. I want to make her watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I've been
And,
trying
like,
to get Olive to do that. She doesn't want to.
I don't know. I feel like the extended cut is too much for her for her first time go through. But like there's so many scenes that are so great from the extended cut. Like there's some dumb scenes that don't really need to be in it, but like
Yep.
like when Theoden is like standing over the grave of his dead son and he's crying and Gandalf comes and things like that's all extended cut.
Isn't that extended Return to the King though?
No, that's extended to Two Towers.
Two Towers, sorry.
And then extended Return of the King is Saruman's death is only in the extended cut.
Yeah, that makes it's just ignoring the theatrical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe you could do like the theatrical for Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah.
Get an entry point in, like, and then if it's received well, then you could be like, oh.
Well, I
You
guess
know,
we'll have to watch you because
Yeah,
I'm
but-
doing you a favor.
Yeah, but don't reveal. Just be like, she must be like, oh, how long's the movie? And you're like,
It's
don't
like
worry
2
about it.
hours.
Yeah, I
It'll
think
feel like 2 hours.
Yeah. I like
It's
that.
actually 4.
It's actually 4, and then we're gonna watch the other one again.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple. All of us no interest in Lord of the Rings, like at all. And I've been like, but it's really like I don't want to be like every, but like it's so good. Like it's
Yeah.
so good. It's so.
I think
good.
especially because she's not like Kazar's not from the US. Like I think like these American movies like will hit different.
Yeah.
Like I want to make her watch Star Wars and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
She wants to play the Last of Us video game, so we're
Oh,
gonna
that's
do
pretty
that
cool.
at some point. Yeah.
Nice. Do you remember that week, like 3 years ago, where I watched all of the Lord of the Rings and all of the Hobbit movies in like 5 days?
That's what we did for a podcast. We did 2
Yeah.
podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Those were good times.
I like doing that.
Yeah, those movies fucking suck. The Hobbit
The
movies
Hobbit
suck.
movies, yeah.
Yeah, Hobbit movies suck. Hobbit movies are awful. Okay, Matt, this was fun. We'll be back next week with an episode.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll
some
figure it out.
sort of episode.
Some sort of episode. We'll figure it
At
out.
the very least, we'll be doing a clearing on our watch list video episode
Yes.
pretty soon.
If it's not a bonus episode where we talk about Civil War, it will be a clearing our watch list,
Okay.
or it will be a modern classic, whatever we
Yeah.
find the time to. We're figuring it out.
Time is a flat circle.
No, get it? Do you get
Yeah.
it? It's from True. Are you watching the True Detective new season 4?
I heard it was bad.
Okay, that's all.
I
I need to know.
couldn't will myself to watch it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go watch some women's basketball. Iowa versus South Carolina is today, and I want to see how Caitlin Clark does. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go do that. And speaking about stuff with women, I guess. Okay. Well, this is fun. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys again soon for the next one. And fuck you and goodbye.